Alright man, let's fix your life. Now this is not going to be a short video, but it's also not going to be a superficial one. I'm going to go through a list with you of certain things that if you implement them now are going to have such a tremendous effect on your fucking life. And I know that if you clicked on this video, you at least feel like you're in somewhat of a rut. You feel like you could be doing better. And I'm here to tell you that I feel like that too sometimes. And everybody does. No matter how good you think someone is doing, they get into these moments where they have to reflect on certain points to get them into the right groove again. And that's what I hope to do here for you today. So I want you to treat this YouTube video more so like a podcast, okay? Just sit back, relax, or stick it in your pocket when you're biking, driving, whatever you're doing, and take these points in. So the first thing to solve, right, the rutness that you're in right now, and the first fundamental thing we need to do if you want to increase your level of success right now, because that is, you guys, the most important thing. I know we're always talking about, fun shit. We're laughing on this channel. We're talking about girls. We're talking about fighting, just cool shit, right? Cool shit to talk about. But ultimately, I want you guys all to prioritize and focus on becoming motherfucking successful, okay? Because otherwise, all that other shit, it doesn't matter. So that is the main thing that we're doing here, okay? So listen, the first and most important thing, and you're already gonna roll your eyes at this, is we're gonna have to get enormously clear on our goal. Where are you trying to go? Okay, and the reason I said you're gonna roll your eyes at this is because I know that you've already heard this a million fucking times. I know that you have already written it down probably 100 times, right? But even I recently talked to a friend, and when I say even I, it just simply means with the achievements that I've had so far, the millions that I've made, all the life that I've been able to create for myself, and the years that I've been into this self-development game already. But even for me, I recently spoke to a friend who's well on his way towards a multi-9-figure exit, okay, with his business. And this friend even clarified for me how crystal clear this guy has his vision. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna kick this video off with for you. If you knew for a fact that you would make a 9-figure exit within the next 2 to 3 years, would there be anything that could distract you? If you knew from the bottom of your heart that you were gonna make a couple hundred M's, or at least 100 M's, within the next couple of years, would you really then realistically still have trouble not going out, right? Or not engaging in bullshit or whatever? Most likely not, because you would know very fucking well that, okay, this is gonna be the payout. It's gonna be this fucking big, okay? And so I'm willing to do anything right now to get there. And that's the level of vision and certainty you need to get to that's gonna pull you through the hard times. Because shit is bound to get extremely hard, right? Shit is bound to get frustrating, to give you all this bullshit to deal with, okay, that you need to be able to get through. And the only way to get through that is to have certainty that you're gonna get where you wanna go, and that is something that you really, really want. Okay, so that is the first thing here on my list, which is having your goal extremely clear, okay? So what comes with that? It's your vision, okay? That's the first thing. So your vision is obviously what we just talked about, where you wanna go and what that's gonna mean for you. And that needs to align with what you truly want. You need to do what the fuck you wanna do, okay? If you wanna live the Playboy lifestyle, if you wanna be the next fucking Dan Bilzerian, if you wanna travel the world, and this is all the superficial shit that you want, right? As far as like the selfish goals that you have, then that is totally fucking fine. And you can't let anybody tell you that it's not, right? Some other guys, right? They just want to have the happy wife, right? They want to have the family life. They want to have the white picket fence, whatever it is. Whatever you want to do is what you need to do. And you need to disregard what other people want for you. The only thing that you do need to keep in mind with this is that a lot of people, they will think they want something, but it's just because they have a limiting belief that doesn't allow them to believe that they can get what they would really want. Okay? And so that's why I started it off with goal, because you need to believe that you can have it. Because if that's the case, then you're gonna actually know what you want. And a great question to ask yourself to figure this out will be, what if I couldn't fail, right? What if money wasn't an issue here, or whatever? Any of these questions, what if I couldn't fail, right? What would you do then? And then you're gonna get some real answers of what you actually really want. Because once you find what you really wanna do, right, and the direction you really wanna go in, you're gonna have this surge that's just gonna pull you much more than you just only needing to push yourself, okay? And then associated to that is figuring out why it's important to you, okay? People always talk about, oh, figure out your why, and I know it's cliche, but it's still important, okay? You need to figure out, hey, what are the reasons, what are the things that actually motivate me to do this? A lot of people these days, I see that just a lot of people talk shit about motivation, okay? Like it's a bad friend, right? But frankly, motivation, there is absolutely nothing wrong with motivation. And it's actually a vital point of you becoming successful. Now, when I say motivation, I don't mean the warm bath that you have day to day, right? I don't mean a momentary feeling in that moment. Hey, today I really feel like it. That is more so, okay, I feel like it today, right? That's like just a feeling. But I'm talking about an underlying motivation, an underlying cause for action, okay? Your motive for action, right? And that needs to be in place, because if you don't have any motivation, or you don't know why you're motivated, if you just don't have that, right, those reasons to do things, then you're purely going off of willpower because you said to yourself you should do this, but you don't even know why it's important, okay? So how much further would you go in saving your mom's life versus saving any odd person's life, right? Obviously there's reason behind it, there's motivation there, okay? So there's nothing wrong with diving into that and getting that clear for yourself, because even if, right, and this is not true, but even if you were able to get the same amount of action without motivation as with motivation, it's not going to be the same quality. If you're not motivated at all, if you're just trying to do some shit that you don't even really want, okay, then you're not going to even have the same quality of action. You're not going to be there with the same level of mental focus, with the same level of enthusiasm, etc. And yes, discipline, you guys, is fucking vital, right? It is 100% important, and everybody should have that. And no, you shouldn't rely on momentary motivation, like, oh, now I feel like it. You shouldn't be checking in with your feelings, but I am talking about an overarching drive on a macro perspective towards your goals. I'm not talking about a momentary feeling, right? So with that said, then within that path and within that goal, you need to have absolute certainty that you can achieve this path and this goal, okay, right here. So how do you get certainty that you can actually do it? Because as we just said, if you had 100% certainty that you were gonna be able to get a $100 million exit, right, in the next couple of years, would you have any trouble with, procrastination or doing random bullshit? No, you wouldn't, right? You wouldn't have any issues with that. Why? Because you had 100% certainty that you're gonna be able to make this happen. But how do we get that certainty? Because that is the magic sauce there. Well, one very big trick that not enough people talk about, because a lot of people talk about, okay, visualize, right? Say it to yourself, affirmations, have your vision board, all those things. And that is 100% true. And that is 100% very, very powerful stuff. But we can also look at it through a very simplistic and actual logical perspective, which is that, what is a belief, guys? A belief is simply a table, right, with legs, okay? And so the table represents the belief, right, with the B, the big fat B, okay? And so those tables represent references. If you've ever listened to Tony Robbins, he talks about this a lot. So a table is supported by legs, just like a belief is supported by different references, okay? And that is essentially evidence. So your brain, it always likes proof, not promises, okay? So if we give your brain hard data that something is true, it's going to do a lot for your certainty. Just like if you remember as a kid or whatever, you were probably sometime, right, in summer or whatever, at some cliff, and all your friends wanted to jump off this cliff, but you were like, hell nah, I don't want to die. I'm not sure if I should be doing this shit. And then one of your buddies, he actually, sorry that I'm fucking around with this thing, you guys. He actually jumped off, and all of a sudden you had the nuts to jump off too. Why? Because he just did it, and now you have the certainty that you're not going to die. Okay? It's a very stupid example, but it's true. So if your friend, or if you can find somebody online even, that was in a similar situation as you and that made this happen, and the better you know this person, like the more you know this person personally, the more certainty you get. Okay? That's also an interesting thing. I've been teaching people business and success, etc., for a long ass time, and what you see is often, and a lot of people that do this kind of stuff, experience this, is when you first start a coaching program or a course or whatever, it's kind of people that you know or low-key know you or whatever that kind of get into this, and they usually do the best. Why? Yes, because it's still small, but I think the biggest thing is because they have the certainty that they're going to be able to make this happen, because they know you a little bit. They know, oh, this guy was just in my case, this guy was just an 18-year-old fucking high school dropout who was always fucking fighting, always doing fucking bullshit. Not someone, never fucking went to school, right? Always was messing stuff up. You wouldn't think, oh, this guy would crush a business. So then, therefore, it gives them a lot of certainty that they can too. Now, that doesn't go for everybody, but because most people that I know from back in the day, they're still in the exact same spot. But with that being said, the certainty element is extremely powerful, and a big way that you can use that and you can install certainty is by finding examples, okay? Find examples and look at it every day. Okay, this guy's crushing it in my business model. This guy's crushing it. This guy's crushing it in boxing. This guy's whatever, okay? And then even within boxing as an example, right? Let's say that you're a very tall guy, or let's say that you're a very short guy. This is the perfect example. You're a very short motherfucker, okay? And you think, and people have been telling you, hey, you're too short to make it as a boxer, right? Because you're always gonna have a reach disadvantage. What would be the absolute, you can visualize all day long, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but what would be more easy and more powerful to help you? Well, watch a couple Mike Tyson fights, okay? Watch a couple Canelo fights and see what the fuck a short guy can actually make happen. Watch a couple of Pitbull Cruz fights, even though he got obliterated in his last one. Don't watch that one, right? But either way, and that goes for everything, right? So if you're now the taller guy, you can do the same thing, right? Or in anything that you're trying to do, find examples and look at it every day, because that gives you that proof. Even though you don't have to prove yourself, you can get it from someone else, okay? So that is the first part that you want to cover, and we just did, right? So then the second thing is, because people always speak about, okay, I know what I want to do, this and that, but I just keep procrastinating, okay? I just, people just have trouble getting into that spot where they're in momentum and they're in action and everything is flowing. So one thing that I've noticed that people don't fucking talk about enough is that you need to clear the pipes, okay? And what I mean by clear the pipes is that you need to take a look at your life, and you need to take a look at the laundry list, okay, of shit that you still haven't done, that you're supposed to do, and you kind of have in the back of your mind. Because I can tell you guys that, like, it's not work, it's not doing things that gives you stress, right? It is primarily the things that you avoid to do that give you stress and that take up a massive amount of mental capacity. So the best example that I always give to hit this point home is if you've left the house, okay, and you just left on the microwave or whatever, or nobody leaves on the microwave, the oven, whatever, the stove, okay? Better example. You know that when you're out of the house, you just have this nagging feeling of like you forgot something or something is wrong, right? You have this kind of feeling, but because you don't consciously remember it, otherwise you would have turned it off, right? But you forgot about it, and you still have this feeling in your body. And then at some point you go like, oh shit, and you rush back home and you fucking turn that thing off. Well, that's exactly what happens when you have these things in your to-do list or in the back of your mind. No, it doesn't matter how small they are, right? It could be like ordering some clothes. It could be getting ready for this thing. It could be, you know, cleaning some shit. It could, like, what, as small as you can even think of. Those things need to happen. Just anything that you need to do, you need to just clear it. Okay. So what you can do to make this happen is make a list today. Okay. Even after you finish this video, or you can make it already right now. Make a list and just think about what is every single thing that I should have done. Okay. Every single thing that I still need to do. Every single thing that's kind of bugging me or stressing me out. And then it's going to probably take you a day or two to even make this list, because some of the things are deep in your subconscious, right? Like, it's just, you forgot about it. But then if you have this list and you go back to the list for, for 5 times a day during today and tomorrow, then you're going to have the full list, right? And then you're just going to spend one day just clearing that motherfucker right out. So if you just clear that list completely, you will start from a clean slate, okay? So cleared the pipes completely. Now, once you clear the pipes, what happens? You have so much more, right, room for all this water to come through, right? You have so much more power. You know, when your shower is just like dripping out, right? When your water pressure is all fucked up, usually the fucking repairman comes and he just clears the goddamn pipes, right? Or whatever is wrong. Like, you know, usually just fixes that stuff by clearing the pipes. And then all of a sudden there's a floodgate of water. So this represents, the pipes represents your brain having all this shit in there that you low-key forgot about, but it's still ruminating in there. And then now water went, you cleared that thing, and now all the energy, being the water, can just go through again, and you have so much more power, okay? So much more force, psychological bandwidth, right, to deal with your business and your problems. And so this is also a reason that I, for myself, have seen the times that I'm like, let's say an ad account gets banned and I just get floored, right? I'm just like, fuck, right? And I'm just like, fuck all this shit. The times that I have that obviously I don't act on it, guys. I have that for a moment and I'm like, no, fuck that. But the times that things really get to me are the times when I already have, if I then think about it, a list of shit that I haven't dealt with, okay? And so usually, even on a bigger perspective, right? People talk about problems. Well, problems are usually just situations that you haven't dealt with in a timely fashion. Okay, even think about something like your administration, right? Like your bookkeeping and stuff like that. If you don't do it on a timely manner or outsource it on a timely manner, whatever, it's gonna really fuck with you in the back of your mind, right? Because that is like something that can give you serious trouble if you don't handle that kind of stuff. And so then the end of the year, it's gonna be a big problem as well. And stress, you guys, is the biggest killer of your energy. Stress, if you just have a lot of stress, subconscious shit, in the back of your mind and stuff like that, it's seriously gonna hold you back a lot, because the stress is the biggest health killer, the biggest energy killer out there. It fucks with your sleep, it fucks with your energy, it fucks with your focus, it fucks with your whole nervous system, okay? So anything you can do to eliminate stress, and once again, I never say that means that you work less. Working more usually kills your stress more, because even people I know that like take a lot of time to relax, but they're thinking a lot and shit. And hey, if I'm not working, I'm also the type of person who thinks a lot. That is more stressful than just being in the zone and working away, okay? And then obviously, once you've cleared that list, you need to make sure to keep that motherfucker clear, okay? Because most people, including myself for a very long time, have just a habit of when anything comes up, it's just like, okay, I'll do it in a bit. Most people have a habit of just doing things later, okay? Most people that I see in general just don't have the habit of like, hey, okay, let me just do it immediately, right? Whatever small task comes up, most things that come up, you can actually do immediately. You need to order something, you could do it immediately. It's gonna take less than a couple minutes, right? Less than 5 minutes, most cases. And if it doesn't, then you can schedule that shit right in, put it on your list, and then handle it the next day, right? Or handle it that day. But handle it ASAP, because you don't want to have those things in the back of your mind, even if it doesn't seem that important, right? Obviously more important and bigger things are going to take a bigger toll on your stress and on, you know, that mental bandwidth thing. But even if it's small things that are still in the back of your mind, it is, I promise you, it is going to fuck with you. And what you also got to understand is that procrastination is nothing more than a habit. And it feels so goddamn good. You can see the emotion in my motherfucking face. It feels so good to list shit off, to clear out the pipes, okay? To get a blank sheet. It feels so good. And I'm trying to convince you of that because I promise you, even today I had some bullshit to deal with. I had some stuff that doesn't directly give me an ROI in my business. It's stuff that I had to do myself because I'm the business owner, right? I had to do these things. It was just some admin kind of mandatory stuff that I had to take care of. And frankly, I didn't want to do it, but I was like, let me just get this done right away. Let me just get this done. And honestly, it took me like 25 minutes, but I had to kind of get into it. I had to kind of understand. And I got it done, and immediately it felt like a small, I'm not going to exaggerate it, but it felt like a small weight was just off my shoulder, right? Like, okay, that's just dealt with. Meanwhile, because I knew it was something important, right? But I just didn't want to do it. And I had the thought of, let me just do this later. And I said, no, we're just going to do it just right now, okay? So anyways, don't convince yourself that, you know, it's okay to do it later. And so that procrastination thing is a habit, okay? If you want to stop procrastinating with the smallest things, you need to start doing it right away, okay? When you just got out of the shower, right away, put your fucking toothbrush back, put your fucking lid on the thing, whatever. Do it right away. When you just ate something, clean it right away, okay? That kind of stuff, even though it sounds very trivial and very normal, and it's probably some shit that your mom already told you always, it is gonna make a big impact because it's really a death by 1,000 cuts that gets people, right? Because you're not aware of the big things. Like, even, especially if you're like a kind of an entrepreneur dude, or you're just someone who takes life seriously, or you consider yourself to be like that, then usually the big things, right? You don't really get floored by that. Like, if it's the big things of, okay, I really need to do this big project or whatever, but those small little defeats, they can stack up and they can sneak in. And you don't want to let them, because it fucks with your winner effect. It makes you feel subconsciously more like a loser because you're not grabbing life by the nuts, okay? You're not doing what you're supposed to do, and you know it deep down. And that messes with you, okay? That messes also with your winner effect and with your self-image. And that is a point that I'm going to get onto later on in this video. Now, the next point that I'm going to give to you is focus. And if you've ever seen this little clip where Warren Buffett and Bill Gates sit down, no matter what you think of them, especially Bill Gates nowadays, right? Anyways, they sat down, both of them, and they had to write down in one word what brought them their success. They both wrote down focus. Focus is, if you understand this, and if you understand how to utilize this for yourself, so fucking powerful. And I have truly made an effort to understand how all my other high-level entrepreneurs, I'm talking like 9-figure entrepreneurs, people that are doing 8 figures a month, this kind of stuff, right? And in all various industries, all very, very different personalities across the board, right? I hear from these people this. Focus, and for myself, right? I'm just saying also from other people. Focus is a superpower, okay? If you understand how to use it, and if you understand how it works. Because what is important to understand about focus is that your mind and your subconscious mind, it can only really, especially if you're a dude, okay? It can only really focus on one thing at a time. And right now, I'm first speaking about a macro perspective. So I'm not just talking about, okay, I'm making a video now, I'm focusing on making the video and not other shit, okay? I am, and you know, I'm talking about right now on the macro perspective. So if you, right, have you as a guy, right, because mostly guys watch this channel, but guy or girl alike, whatever, you likely have goals in your life and you want to achieve them. And so you have those in different aspects of your life, right? So you might want to get really fit, or you might want to have a social life, you might want to date girls, this and that, or guys, and you might want to grow your business. You have these different aspects of your life. Now, if you're, right, someone who takes various aspects of their life very seriously, I'll give you just a very simple example, okay? I personally do boxing, but also real competition boxing. I have a very big passion for this. I love it. And so this is something that takes a lot of focus, right? Then also, I have, obviously a business that I actually run with a big team and everything, right? And this takes even more focus. So if I want to do competition boxing and I want to really grow my boxing skills and I want to really grow my business at the same time, those things don't go together very nicely, okay? And I'm not just talking about getting your fucking face bashed in multiple times a week in sparring. I'm talking about the fact mostly that the focus is going to be split, and that is just very suboptimal, okay? Because anytime you want to really grow in an area, I'm genuinely, this is going to be so valuable if you just let this land and if you understand this. Focus, right, gives you a new level of insight. So if you split that, right, and now you're focusing a lot on the boxing, I'm just going to use this example, but also at the same time you're trying to focus on the business, etc. Now your subconscious genius is going in these two directions, right? And so therefore you're not going to get the same level of insight that you would if you would be focused on one of the two things primarily, okay? You can still manage the other thing, you can still do it, but you're just not focused on getting that much better in it, okay? It's not the main focus of getting better in that aspect, right? Now it's this, okay? One at a time. This is also a big reason why people go into like these training camps for a boxing match, right? They go into these training camps for 3 months, 2 months, whatever, to seriously prep and get to this complete peak condition and peak level, etc. But also to just have their mental focus completely dialed in on that, so they have their whole subconscious mind and everything in their being focused and on board towards getting the best match outcome possible, right? But this also applies to business, because if you're lying in bed at night and now you're thinking about the sparring session you did today, and you're thinking about the techniques, and you're shadowboxing all the time, look, you might think there's nothing wrong with that, but it steals focus, right, from being on the business, from continuously thinking about that. Okay, now this usually doesn't happen if you're just boxing for box fitness and you're not necessarily that emotionally invested in it like I am, like I just explained, but it might be something else for you, right? It could even be as simple as a Netflix series. Okay, if you're watching a Netflix series like, what is like some shit that people always talk about, the Game of Thrones, that I've never seen this, but people always say this is such an amazing show and this and that, and it's fucking, from what I heard, it's like fucking 12 seasons long or some shit like that. It's just insanely long. Well, listen, if you're watching that every single night, I get it. It can be fun and it can kind of take your mind out of things. And I don't have, I personally sometimes do that as well, but I try not to do any shows or stuff like that, because that is going to take focus. When you watch that every single night, you're seeing that, you're getting emotionally involved with these characters, you're looking at it all the time, and now you're thinking about it throughout the day, right? Or like you're dreaming about it maybe even, right? And so way too much focus is going towards this fucking fictional show, because it's just something that's built to be emotionally engaging, right? And pull you in and pull your attention. And so you got to think of your attention like light, right? If you have sunlight and you focus that on one spot, then you're going to be able to burn that. You know that whole little joke that people always do with the enlargener glass, however the fuck you call that, and you put that on some paper, and then you can actually burn the paper, because all the sunlight, right, it focuses down into that paper, and then it gets way more hot, right? People always do a prank like that on their family's arm or whatever. And so anyways, that is because of the concentration of energy, right? And so that is the same concept that you can apply to whatever you're trying to master. And so most likely, right, if you've been kind of in a rut a little bit, it's that you're focused also on different things, right? Or on all this social life, or on different passions and different hobbies at the time, or like you're really thinking about things. It's not about the time investment, is what I'm trying to make clear, okay? Because time, usually you have enough time to just grow the business, right? Like it's not like you need, like you can't go to, boxing every day for an hour, or even maybe 2 times a day for an hour, right? You usually can make that work. and I'm just using boxing as the example now. It's or even going out and socializing every single night or whatever, or every single night is a bit too much. But if you're going out two hours a night, you're not drinking enough, and that's actually possible. It's pretty easy to do, right? If you would want to, if that's the thing that you're talking about. What's the bigger problem is that the focus that it takes, okay, throughout the day, thinking about it, the mental RAM that it's going to take up. And so the way that I solve this, okay, and I already did this when I was 18 years old, and I called it immersion, right? And people nowadays call this monk mode a lot because Iman really came up with this stuff, but brought this stuff out to the market a lot. But I already did this way before that. And I called this immersion because what I noticed is when I was like always going out and talking to all these girls and doing this and that, it really stole a lot of focus. I was focused on all this shit going on and making plans for the weekend and making sure that everybody was, this and that, and linking up the promoters, whatever. It was taking a lot of focus away from what I was really trying to do, right? And so this is what you can use as well. It's called an immersion period. And that is going to allow you to set aside a sprint of like 60 days, 90 days, whatever, to get to another goal in your life. Now, this can be in anything, right? You could also say like, hey, I actually want to become proficient at boxing. I want to become an amateur boxer, proficient level amateur boxer. Well, you could set aside, okay, now I'm going to do a 90-day sprint. I'm going to do 2 free competitions in this 90 day. I'm just going to be completely focused on boxing. The business, I'm still going to manage it, but I'm not going to be trying to grow it as much, in the sense that like that's not what I'm fully investing my mental focus in. I'm just going to be highly focused on the boxing right now. And that would be a method to actually increase that. So that is fully possible, right? And that is that immersion period. And what I can tell you is that you can get more growth, okay? Like 10 times more growth out of an immersion period of 90 days than a balanced period of 6 months or even 9 months or 12 months, okay? Because those immersion periods, and I'm telling you, a lot of people really use this that are extremely successful. They give you another level of insight, okay? It's just that your subconscious mind is so focused on this thing, right? That now you just see opportunities that other people wouldn't see. Okay, you see the product that is going to go viral or that is going to sell really well that other people wouldn't see because they're not that obsessed with it right now. Okay, because their thoughts are not fully directed into that. And one more tip that I'll give you on this: to utilize your full subconscious powers. Okay, you can prime yourself as well. So obviously, with the boxing thing, you would be watching a lot of boxing. You would just talk about boxing. You would hang out with people that are talking about that are boxing. You would box the whole time. All of that, right? You would have shit in your house about it. But with money, for example, then you want to read books about money. Okay, you want to watch movies that are about money. If you're watching movies at all, right? You want to just everything about that should be about business, money, marketing. When you're talking to your friends, it should be about business, marketing, money, right? Just be obsessed with that, at least for that period. Now, I'm not saying that you need to keep that up for a year's length, because that kind of loses the point, and then you're not gonna, right? It usually allows you to do that for like 60 to 90 days if you have that fruit that you're gonna get from it at the end, right? If you know that you're gonna be able to allow yourself to really enjoy after you hit that kind of goal, etc., right? So that kind of, and then you bring it back more in balance, right? Then you kind of taper down on the business, and you go from an 80-20 percentage, right? 20% management and the rest in the other aspects of your life, like going to the gym, like socializing, whatever, and then 80% business. And then you kind of go back to like a 60-40, right? Or like a 50-50, or you go on holiday and it goes all the way down to the 80-20 other way, right? It depends on you. But you get my point, okay? So you want to play with those percentages, and it's an 80-20 towards the goal that you're trying to improve the most in that immersion period. So from there on, as we just touched on, a huge thing, point number 4 is going to be environment, okay? And as you can see, I've touched up my environment right here, decided to make it a bit more bright. But that being said, your environment has a massive impact on you. And the best example I can give you for that is that if you've ever experienced going home for the holidays, or in general, just going home and going back to where you grew up, or to stay in your family's house, or whatever it is, okay? And notice if you've ever noticed that, if you've already moved out and moved to a different country or whatever, if you ever noticed going back that you fall very quickly into old bad habits. I recently talked to my little brother, right? And I said to him, like, hey, when I'm in the Netherlands and when I'm at the, family house there and I just spend some time there, we be eating not that good, right? Now, to be honest, I haven't been there in a long time, and it may be a bit different now, but from my memory and from the times that I have been there, well, it was definitely not as good as like being outside of there, the diet and all of that kind of stuff. Now, a big reason for this is because I'm used to it there. That's the association that I have to being around there, but also because there's a lot of that kind of shit in the house, right? And I'm laughing because one time I was in the family house and there was like these bars of like my absolute favorite chocolate, right? That my mom had won through like some lottery or something. And there was like 5 or 10 of these bars. And I'd throw them out. I threw them out into the bin, and then she asked at some point, where are those bars? And I was like, I threw them out. She's like, what? Are you fucking out of your mind? Those are expensive, this and that. And also one of my friends, one of my best friends, he had this, his girlfriend wanted this pot of like little cookies and whatever, this candy kind of stuff that is around Christmas, right? And my friend doesn't want to have the temptation because he noticed that he was eating it, right? So what they did was they sprayed hairspray all over them cookies. It's just so ridiculous. Honestly, it's a bit ridiculous, right? But because there's also an element of like, hey, just have the discipline. But at the same time, you want to use that discipline for things that actually benefit you, not to stop things that wouldn't benefit you, that you could also stop by just not having it in your environment, right? So anyways, you want to optimize your environment, okay? And that goes into people, right? Let's start there. Because a lot of people have people around them that frankly are on a different wavelength, right? That are trying to, that have different goals, that are trying to do different things. Even very recently, I had a very good friend, right? An old friend that was here in Bali, okay? I'm about to leave myself actually, but I was here for the past month or two. And this friend of mine was here, right? And he was only gonna be here for like 2 weeks. So we were kicking it. But this friend of mine, like, he lives somewhere else, and he was here more so on a bit of a holiday vibe. And in general, he's just the type of guy that is also, he's a hustler, but he loves to go out, okay? Guy is very social, guy is very into girls and all of that kind of stuff. Now, we were hanging out, and I could already tell, hanging out with this guy a bunch of times per week, every time he was going to go to a party, he was going to go to this, and I was just not in that zone right now. I was trying to be locked in more. We did a few fun things, but I already took a step back, and I was like, yo, I'm, kind of on a different wavelength right now, because it affects you. It starts to seep into you now, right? Like, if they're always going there and doing all this kind of stuff and talking about that stuff, you're going to get sucked into that. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, right? It just depends what you're doing right now, right? I like to have fun too, but it's just not, it wasn't the right time. And you should ask yourself, what is your priority right now, right? What is the immersion that you're currently in for, okay? Because you can also have a fun immersion. It's called a fucking holiday, right? You go in the summer to Ibiza or whatever, Mykonos, wherever you go, and you just go and fucking, go crazy for 2 weeks, right? That is a fun immersion, because the fun also builds momentum, right? And builds a lot of fun. So you can do that too. So anyways, that is people, right? You need to eliminate people that drag you down, or that, well, you don't need to eliminate people that distract you, but you just need to hang out with them when it's suitable, right? I personally have a lot of just friends and network and contacts, etc. within nightlife, promoters, people that do trips, concierges, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, I like those people and everything, but I just can't talk and hang out with those people when I'm trying to focus on work. I just can't do it, okay? I can't live with those kinds of people. It's not suitable for where I'm trying to go, right? And you need to ask yourself that as well. Then additionally, think about your house, right? Optimizing everything in your environment, okay? Like having a bunch of shit, right, that you don't want to eat because it's bad for you in your house is going to guarantee that at some point you're going to break and you're going to eat it, okay? So eliminate that stuff. Another thing that can be big, okay? If you're just someone who tends to not work well at home, for example, have a dedicated area, because your brain is an association machine, right? So if you're just chilling usually at home, then you're not, like for example, this exact spot where I'm sitting right now, I always shoot videos here, right? If you've seen it on my channel. That's for a reason, right? Anytime that I sit down here, I have my thing, I have a little cup of tea, whatever, I know that I'm locked in, I'm focused, I'm present with this video, trying to deliver as much value as possible, okay? And by the way, on that note, before I forget, if you want to actually join a free community of guys that are watching this channel and you want to tap in, then shoot me a DM on Instagram. It's @BoydHoek. I'll leave it in the description. Shoot me a DM with the word group, okay, group, and then I'll drop you the link for that. Now, with that being said, because obviously there you're going to actually find people that are on the same path, purpose, and have the same values as you. I'm telling you, it's pretty fucking difficult as a guy to find people that have the same values and the same similar personality traits as you, okay? But it's very good when you do. And that's one of the reasons that I did this YouTube channel and that I'm making this community, etc., is to allow you guys to do that. And frankly, for myself as well, right? Let's get some winners together. So anyway, then what you can also do, guys, it can make a massive difference for some people. I'm personally a person that definitely likes this more. It's just that I can't always do it because I'm shooting videos and all that kind of stuff out loud and whatever. But an office, getting an outside office can make a massive difference on your productivity, okay? Because you're going somewhere. It's just like going to the gym. When you go to the gym, you work out way better and way harder and longer and everything than when you're just doing a home workout, okay? You will definitely notice a big difference if you go to the gym versus doing a home workout. Why? Just because it's a dedicated thing that you go to do X activity. It would just be weird not to make full use of it. Now, that same concept can be applied. I know a lot of people like to work at home nowadays, but if you want to try it out, go to an office, or if that's too expensive, go do it to some co-working thing, whatever, and see if that works for you, all right? Or even can go to a cafe shop or whatever and just test that out. Get out of the house sometime, right? And give that a test. Then, a big thing, you guys, one of the best things that I ever did for myself was move. Get the fuck out of your goddamn hometown. If you haven't done that yet, get on it, okay? Because for me, where I grew up, okay, I know about one person that actually got successful out of that. And, you know, it's not good for you in the slightest to stay in that hometown with all your college friends or whatever. I personally never even went to college. I didn't even finish high school, guys. But still, you know, you can maintain those relationships, right? At least this is what I do. I maintain those relationships in the sense that the relationship is still there, but I just don't hang out with these people and talk to them a lot because I'm trying to go somewhere else, and that's my priority, right? So moving to a different new place allows you to have kind of also a clean slate as far as your habits, your personality, etc. Because as a human, your identity, your habits, your personality, as I just said, your beliefs, it's all also attached to where you grew up. So that's why sometimes if you maybe experienced this when you were younger, you were going on a holiday, whatever, you were maybe a very different person, way more outgoing, confident, whatever, because you were not attached to other people and what the expectations that they had of you. So if you lose those expectations because you're in a new circle, you can reinvent yourself. And reinventing yourself is exactly what you need to get to a new level, to get to a higher level, okay? So reinvent yourself continuously. And I'm gonna get more into that reinventing yourself point in just a minute here. So with that said, guys, routine, okay? Also an environment point. Your routine should be dialed in to something that makes you feel like a winner, right? That makes you just go in a nice tune throughout your day, okay? You need to create a routine to where you don't think about what you need to do next, right? You need to create a routine where this is the same concept that I said earlier, right? With handling things right away. I'm totally the person that did all of this oppositely, right? I always left shit up in the air, right? I was always the guy, if someone wanted to hang out or if some girl wanted to go out, or to be fair with girls, you kind of want to keep this up, but it's besides the point. I always left shit up in the air and unclear, right? And that's exactly why I said you want to kind of keep it in that department. But for other shit, you just want to schedule stuff in, right? So what I had, this was a big insight for me at some point, okay? What I used to do always was like think, oh, well, I don't know yet if this is going to be like the right time to schedule that in or to do that. I'll see how I feel then, right? And then that day or that hour, I'll just decide how I feel, and then based on that, go or not, or do this or not, or do it at another time or whatever. Whereas that is such bullshit, because you're making your compass for action taking, right? Your compass, deciding what you're doing or not, based on your fucking feelings, okay? Where the fuck does that come from? What a stupid ideology. And I just had never thought about it, right? Before I had that turning point. And then I started to think, well, that's actually nonsense. It doesn't matter how I feel. I'm just gonna schedule shit in, block shit out of my calendar, and just follow that regardless of how I feel, right? And so what you will also find at that point is if you have things that routinely happen at similar times, right? Even like eating, etc., your body will make you feel like it at that time, because it knows that is going to happen. Okay, so that is also how you want to approach things like an adult. Okay, and a goddamn adult schedules shit, okay, and follows this schedule whether they feel like that or not. They goddamn follow a schedule and have a structure to their days, a structure to their lives. And trust me, I am the person that was always kind of like, well, I worked so hard to get all this freedom, and I just want to like do whatever the fuck I want and this and that. And yes, that got me very far, but it just has big downsides. It also is a factor that gives you more stress, because you're always thinking like, you're never sure if you're going to do something or not, and it wastes a fuck ton of mental capacity. You can see that I'm passionate about this point, because this is one that I was really bad at, okay? This is one that I always did differently, all right? I was always the guy who left shit up in the air and who was just kind of like, I'll see, okay? Yeah, we'll see, right? When people want to hang, yeah, we'll see. But I'm not necessarily just talking about the social stuff. I'm just talking about other things, right? Like, okay, your work, this is when you're doing the video, this is when you're doing that, this is when you're doing that. Now, yeah, you can have creative moments. Like, for example, today, this video wasn't planned at all. I was actually just doing some work. I'm actually a bit late for a meeting, but I was like, hey, I have inspiration for a video. This just came up, and now we're 50 minutes into a fucking video, okay? That's how things go. Obviously, I've pushed the meeting a bit at this point, so that's especially for you guys. You're welcome. So anyway, that's your environment, guys. That's your routine. And then, figure out something that works for you. So you don't need an 8-hour morning routine or nothing like that, but like you can do something that makes you feel like you're in the zone. For me personally, I just love it when I wake up early and I do some things, right? I get out, okay? I go to the gym and I'm in a sort of a rush. This is just something that gets me into a nice zone, right? I go to the gym quick. I get dressed quick. Everything happens, pop, 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 right? Pop, pop, pop. I go to the office, pop. Okay, I open my computer, I do this work, this and that, right? Shoot a video then. And everything is just pop, pop, pop. And I'm trying to do things quick, efficient. It just gets me in a nice momentum and into a nice zone of busyness, okay? That's what works for me. Doesn't have to be like that. You can also wake up, meditate for 20 minutes, and get to work at your desk, right? It depends what works for you. And you just want to stick to that. And you don't want to, the death trap, you guys, is thinking about what you're going to do. That costs more energy than doing something, okay? So even in your day-to-day, right? Even if things come up, right? And you're like, going to think, oh, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? And you hold back and this and that because you're afraid of something or whatever. Even like you're out and about and you're not even trying to focus on it. You see a really pretty girl and you just think like genuinely you'd actually love to talk to her. But now you're like, and it's not the right moment and it's this and it's that. And then you're like walking. Don't do any of that shit, man. Like, okay, you see it, you want to take that action. Just go up, get a number, get an Instagram, whatever, and leave and go back to what you were doing, okay? And so do things right away. Essentially, you can visualize a point A towards a point B and going from A to B in a straight line instead of doing all this shit, okay? Which is what women do when they have a conversation with each other. They go all over the goddamn place just to make a point and then to dance around it. So anyways, then we go into the last point, which is the most important point, okay? And that is point number 5. Mambo number 5, if you know that song. Because identity is really the thing that can either make you or break you. And when I talk about identity, I don't mean some LGBTQ identify as some other bullshit like that. I'm talking about your self-image, your self-perception, your identity, okay? How do you think about yourself? Who the fuck do you think you are? Right? So many people struggle with this because it's something that lies once again in your subconscious, and you may or may not be aware of it. But here's a foolproof method to figure out what your self-image is, what your identity is in a certain area. Okay? How much money do you make right now? Okay, and how long has that been, right? So I'm not talking about, like, for example, Donald Trump, right? At some point he lost all his money, but it was just for a short period of time, and then he had everything back. That doesn't mean that his identity was that he was broke. It actually means his identity was that he was up there because he got back. So I'm not talking about, okay, you've had a fluke. I'm talking about a pattern that has been there for longer periods of time. So you can just very simply, my friend, look at the results you've gotten in your life in a certain area, and there's your self-image. That's exactly how you feel about yourself. That's exactly what you think you're worth. That's exactly what value you command, okay? And that's exactly the price tag that you place on yourself. So what the girls that you're dating, the guys that are your friends, the amount of social results that you have, the amount of money that you have, the amount of successful business success that you have, whatever, right? It all really fundamentally comes down to your self-image, identity, self-perception. I always use these interchangeably because for some people different ones hit home. So there's your answer. That's your current self-image, right? That's your current identity. And we then need to figure out, is that what you want or do you want more? So if there's a discrepancy between what you currently have and what you want, and it hasn't been for 1 week, right? There has been some significant time, meaning more than a couple months, that this discrepancy has been there. You need to figure out and look into what is, my identity here at play, and what do I need to change about this, okay? And so if there is that gap, then you need to start to really develop yourself as the person who is this and start to perceive yourself differently. And the first step in doing so is, again, extremely simple. Just through being aware, through awareness, okay? And so we already did this step because you already brought awareness to the fact that, like, okay, if this has been my result for such a long time, and obviously also, guys, you can also look at, like, hey, is there not something very specific that I don't know or whatever, right? If there's very clear, specific reasons, that could sometimes be the case, but most of the time, okay, definitely most of the time, even those things you would have implemented, you would have gotten to know those things if your identity was at that same level. Because that is ultimately what really dictates what you see, what you don't see, the opportunities that you see, etc., right? It's like what you feel like you deserve, okay? You get what you think you deserve in life, okay? You don't actually get what you deserve. And so what I mean by that is what you think you deserve is like what you would allow yourself to have, not what you actually deserve, right? And so yes, working very hard and trying your best can increase what you think you deserve as well, right? This can also be a method. Like, it's not only like, hey, visualizing and stepping into that person. It's also simply like, okay, what do you think a person would need to do those things? And if you are always following your higher self intentions, right? Like, okay, I should do this right now, okay? And you do it, right? And you do that all the time, then that also increases your self-worth. And that self-worth is directly correlated and linked to your bank account, okay? Especially if it's in that business, taking action type of area. And so taking those actions that we've talked about earlier on in the video and following your own word, etc., that also allows you, so that working hard essentially, right? Most of the time, that's what it means. That also allows you to actually earn more, but not necessarily because you're like working hard, but also because it builds your own self-worth. Someone, Wes Watson, I believe, said, what was his quote? The work instills the worth, something like that, okay? And I thought that was an absolutely genius quote, because that work that you do, and it's not just working like all the way, it's just following your own intentions. Like, okay, you have these intentions and you actually execute on them. Anytime you go against your own intention, right, then you just brought some shame into your body. You lowered your self-image, right? You had a negative impact on yourself. And the more you do that, the lower you go, and the less you feel and think that you deserve in life, and the less, and therefore the less that you will actually have. So you want to execute on your intentions, and you want to control your impulses. Your impulses being fucking jerking off, watching Netflix all the time, going out and partying with girls all the time, whatever it is that gets you, right? You want to be able to control that, and you want to be able to execute on your intentions. You need to know the difference between those. And what is the difference between those? It's one question away, okay? That question is, okay, I have this impulse or intention. I'm not sure yet. Okay, if I do this, if I engage in this, will it be good for me rationally, thinking for my higher self? Going out, this and that, right? And sometimes it could be, it depends on what season you are of life, right? Netflixing, this and that. Well, probably not, okay? So it was actually an impulse, control that motherfucker, right? Okay, I think that I need to make more YouTube videos. Will it be good for me? Yes. Will it be good for other people? Yes. Intention, execute on that motherfucker ruthlessly, okay? Do it. Go, do it, right? Whatever you need to do it, do it. And right away, immediately, get on that shit now, right? So that is the number one, is one of the biggest ways to increase your self-worth, okay? You listen to you, right? When you say something to yourself, you do it. Now, I know this is cliche. I know a lot of people say this, but it is because it's true. A lot of cliches actually are deep truths that people want to deny because they're the harder truths to hear, all right? But then secondly, you can also, just like that, once you have the awareness, okay, we just built the awareness, okay, I currently don't see myself as a multimillionaire. Okay, can I start seeing myself like that? Because I remember years ago, when I was like 18, I messaged this dude on Instagram. He's called 20s Mentor or something like that. And I just saw his Instagram account. He wasn't selling nothing or whatever. It was just some Instagram account that this dude made, and you know, it's just this cool guy. And I just messaged him like, listen, man, I'm lying in bed here. I'm starting this business thing. I have doubts about this. I just don't really see myself making this happen. I just can't allow myself to see myself as this successful kind of guy who's making all the money and whatever. And he says, that's exactly your problem, right? And I don't remember exactly what he said, but either way, it was just that I didn't at that point in time see myself as it, right? And you need to start seeing yourself as it more often in your imagination, and then you're actually gonna subconsciously see yourself as that successful guy, right? Because if that becomes your self-image and your identity, and you speak that out to people, I am the money guy, I'm rich, I'm on my business, this and that, then you start putting it out there too, and you start creating the expectation of yourself that you're that guy that's known for doing well, that's known for business, whatever it is that you're known for, right? Even within boxing, if you say to yourself, to start saying to people in the gym, this and that, I would never fucking get put down. I'm about it. I'm tough. I would never take a knee. I would never quit on the stool in a fight. Well, now you just created that much more leverage, right? To not do it, because otherwise you'd be going against what you said, and you would just look like a fool that much more. So anyways, there's many ways to create this leverage for yourself. And additionally, right, saying it to yourself, okay? And starting to view yourself at a different level. And everything should coincide with that. And you can do, the next thing here, different small things that could be triggers for you. Okay, so an example that I've heard, from, for example, Conor McGregor, I heard that he used to just wear fake Rolex watches because it made him feel like a winner. It made him feel like a rich person. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily need to do that. I've personally never done that, but either way, you can do it if it worked for you, okay? Who gives a shit, right? You can even just wear it when you're at home by yourself. It's just about the feeling, okay? You want to lock in that feeling and operate from there and know and understand how it feels. Another thing that people do, test drive very expensive cars. And the thing that I used to do was I would go on viewings of extremely expensive houses, right? When I couldn't afford them necessarily. And so that's another thing. And then acting normal in that environment, right? Becoming comfortable in that. Grabbing a coffee in a very luxury hotel, right? Just being in rich environments and being comfortable there will make the association in your brain that you are in a very wealthy area, you're around rich, money, and you're feeling safe, comfortable there. That links together and it creates the subconscious association, aka belief, that hey, I'm okay if I'm rich. It's safe to be rich. Because a lot of people, the biggest problem that they have is they have just a resistance to becoming more wealthy because it's unsafe, it's unfamiliar, okay? They are not that, right? And that doesn't allow them to, access their full potential, because anytime they get there, they self-sabotage. And look, guys, if you ever been thinking like, hey, something holds me back in life, there's only one fucking person doing that, and that is you, right? And you are the only one who can fix that, and you are the only one who can actually do that by way of watching these kinds of videos with these methods and then applying this shit. Okay, so that's why I left this for last, because it's a very deep point and it's very, very important that you're always aware of this. Okay, I'm gonna give you one more analogy, because listen, you can never outgrow your self-image. You can never get more than you have in yourself. And even if you were to get it, you would sabotage it. You would lose it very quickly, okay? That's the exact example that people always give about lottery winners. People win the lottery, 80% of them, they're broker than they were before they won the lottery a couple of years later. How insane is that? If that's not proof, I don't know what is. And it's just because they weren't the person, right? They didn't have the self-image. They weren't psychologically ready for that, okay? And so another thing, right, that is just such a pitch perfect example is this. And I always say this in videos. If you just go out to a bar and you see a very pretty lady, or let's start with a different example first. You see a lady that you think like, okay, right, this girl is like within my league. I would feel very comfortable with her. You chat to her, and you guys get it on, and it's easy, and this and that, okay? And you're yourself, and you're funny and charismatic. She likes you, you like her, whatever, right? Blah, blah. And then let's say a different day, you go out and you see this girl, and she's just stunning, right? And you're just like, holy shit. And you feel, for whatever reason, that she is out of your league, right? She just seems higher value, whatever word you want to, term you want to throw on it. You can go talk to her, you can do your best, this and that. But if you don't psychologically feel like you deserve her, you're never going to be able to keep her, okay? Never. It will never be possible, okay? Because you're always going to self-sabotage. You're not going to be able to be your normal charismatic self. And that's the exact thing that happens. And I'm just mentioning that example because it's so easy to see there, right? Whereas with the money thing, it's a little bit more of a stretched out concept in time. So it's less easy to grasp. But how that comes into play is that you start procrastinating, or that you start fucking things up, or that you start getting bad ideas, bad thoughts. Your brain will trick you, my friends. I'm telling you, I've seen this with myself too. This shit has cost me millions myself. That's why I'm so passionate about bringing this out to you guys, all right? So please lock that in and just develop a daily practice of starting the morning, stepping into the personality you need to be, okay? Operating from there, doing the little micro triggers that I've walked you through, okay? And also surrounding yourself with winners, okay? And once again, if you want to do that, message me group on Instagram, and then we'll lock you in. And by the way, that's totally free, okay? Just so you know. And additionally, make 2025 a killer year for you, okay? End this year strong. Don't say I'm gonna start some shit on January 1. Start it right now, as we talked about throughout this whole video. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.